welcome to
Hello.
Adobe Live. I am Danielle Morimoto, and I am your host today, and we are joined with a special guest, Cody Brown.
Hello.
Cool. So let us know where you guys are tuning in from on the chat. We have an awesome agenda for today. Cody's going to be designing live in Adobe XD.
Yep.
And we are in San Francisco. You joined us from San Diego.
San Diego, all the way from San Diego.
All the way from San Diego. I mean, it's a bit of a trek.
Yeah, I mean, an hour and a half flight, not too bad.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable.
Cool. Well, yeah, we have Daniel from not from San Diego, but
Danny Dufford,
maybe.
yeah,
Do you
that's my friend, yeah.
Oh, okay,
awesome
cool.
illustrator.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll have to get him on here sometime.
Yeah. Cool. So we've had a great schedule for this week. And so this morning, Val was on for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. And then after that, Jesus was on doing digital imaging. And then right before us, Sam Anderson was introducing the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. And then Cody and myself will be here for the next 2 hours. So the Daily Creative Challenge, make sure that you check that out because, yeah.
Up here.
We have a challenge going on today, so you can go ahead and check it out. And then Cody and myself will be giving you guys some feedback on the end. So if you go ahead and check out today's, which is the Designing a Grocery Store checkout monitor, then we will be able to give you guys some feedback when you submit. So make sure that you check that out.
That sounds fun, grocery store. I always feel like those could be better sometimes, you know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of them could definitely be better, yeah. Yeah, so it'd be cool to see what you guys come up with. Okay, we have some more people. I just want to say hi to, we have Tristan from South Dallas,
Nice.
People from Turkey, Utah, so all over the place. Thank you
Welcome,
for
guys.
Joining us today. We do have a chat and win portion in about a half an hour, so make sure that you're heading on over to Behance, and yes, you can win some Sticker Mule stickers, so we have some great prizes. So make sure that you're engaging in the chat. For the stream today, like, Cody's here, we have all of his time, which is amazing. So
Don't be
if
shy.
you have questions about his process, or like career questions, or like designing in Adobe XD, just send them on through. So with that, I will let Cody speak for himself and introduce himself to everybody on the stream.
Oh, we got some of my work in the background. It's the attractive kit that I designed for Adobe.
I recognize that.
All right, so yeah, we're going to design for any screen size with Adobe XD. Before we get started, I think we might have to move our little faces over here. You know.
Oh yeah.
I kind of accounted for that,
like
but
in the
yeah. So we might have to flip where we are now to this side.
And then our faces will be right there.
Yeah, see, we're gonna have to move it.
Yes.
But before I start, I just want to say hi, Mom. I think she's watching on the stream.
Oh.
So my mom's awesome.
Wait, go back.
Wait.
Yes.
Oh, we kind of line up a little bit. Because we're designed for different screen sizes, I had to count for this screen size too. So I wanted to make sure our bases were covered. But yeah, hi, Mom.
Hi, Cody's mom.
Yeah, so we're live streaming from San Francisco. It's been beautiful up here. I got in yesterday.
So nice out right now.
Yeah, went on a run last night. Caught the sunset, so that was really beautiful. Definitely awesome to be up here. I'll be streaming with you for 2 days, so you'll have to see my face for 2 days. Sorry, guys. And I will be highly caffeinated on coffee. So if I get a little jittery, just bear with me.
Ooh. Do you drink a lot of coffee? Like how much caffeine? How much?
You know, I've gotten better. I'm like 1 a day, like in the morning.
Ah.
But like if it's a longer day, I'll go like around like 3:30 and get like another little iced latte or something like that.
Okay.
And it's very likely that I'm gonna mess up at some point. So just
It's hard when you're streaming live, or like when people are watching you or like hovering over your shoulder. It's very nerve-wracking. But everyone's very kind on the
you've
stream.
done a ton of streams, so I'm sure you've at some point messed up, right?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So with that, yeah, my name's Cody Brown. I'm a designer based out of San Diego. Really stoked to be here. I love Adobe. I mean, I've been using software for a long time, and it's really cool to see like the actual offices and places where people work here. So really fortunate to be here. I consider myself a passionate, creative, and professional goofball. I try not to take myself too seriously because it's like, I don't know, like I'm just kind of a goofball, and that's just the way I am. So it's more fun that way, I think.
Totally.
And what I strive to do with my work is to design appealing and intuitive, memorable visual experiences. So That could be an app, that could be a website, that could still even be like a business card. You know, I feel like somebody holding a business card that is memorable is still a good experience. So it kind of flexes across different types of industries and different deliverables. So that's what I try to do on a daily basis. And I've been creating since I was a young lad.
Oh my gosh, so good.
That's little Cody right there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny to see those pictures, but maybe I'll bring that hairstyle back.
I was literally going to comment on the hairstyle.
Yeah,
wow. That's a fresh cut.
The old bowl cut.
I mean, you could definitely bring that back.
Maybe if enough people in the chat chat about it, we can.
Let's please take a poll on the chat. Bring this haircut back.
Oh, we got Nick Lopez in the chat. He works at EFM as well.
Oh, okay.
One of my awesome coworkers.
Nice. I saw someone who said that Richard said that they're a loyal subscriber to you on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do some YouTube tutorials here and there. So thank you, Joe, for watching. Appreciate it. Showing the support. Hello, Lindsay Palmer. So yeah, we should probably get off this slide though, right?
No, I think we should keep that up the whole time. We need to make that the official backdrop.
Oh man.
Work that into the design somehow. That's
maybe oh, okay.
Yeah. As one of if there's an avatar or something that has to be used.
Little Cody will be an avatar in there. So I wanted to talk really quick just about my path as a designer, because I wasn't always a designer. I was just sort of I just knew that I wanted to create stuff when I was a kid. So there you saw me just doodling. I would constantly doodle as a child, and just kind of when test papers would come up, I would just doodle in the margins of my tests, and my teachers would get upset with me. So that's kind of I knew that I wanted to be creative, but I didn't know in what sense. So I went to school for media arts and animation. I figured drawing cartoons, that lends itself well to animation. You know, I loved watching Disney movies and Cartoon Network and stuff like that. So I was okay, that's a natural path, is to get into cartoons. So did a lot of 2D animation in school and some 3D modeling. Even learned a little bit of motion graphics. I really enjoyed that class a lot, and did some storyboarding. But what I was finding is that in school, from what I was learning from people that are in the industry, it's a ton of work, and it's a lot of redoing, frame after frame. And I just felt it wasn't gonna be my career path per se, but I would take something from it. So I ended up switching my majors over to graphic design. I started doing t-shirt designs and some direct mail stuff and posters and illustrations, and it was kind of cool that I was able to get both experiences though, because I was able to apply the animation knowledge to what I do now, which is UI design. So website designs, responsive design, mobile apps, and even banner ads. Sometimes you need some motion in there to kind of make it a little bit more eye-catching. So I was able to kind of bring all those things together, and so they kind of build off each other. And now I consider myself more well-rounded because of it. So at the time, I didn't think that doing animation and switching was a good idea. I felt it was a waste of time. But as I've gotten older and kind of worked a little bit more, I'm grateful for that experience of kind of doing a little bit of both. So, and it's fun to add motion to your designs. Especially when you're doing mobile apps. I think it's really helpful for the client, or even your teammates, or maybe a developer that you're working with, to see what that design would look like in an actual kind of real environment. So hopefully we'll be doing some of that today. After we design in wireframe, we can actually add some motion and some interactions. So we'll see.
It's a good combo to have. I feel being able to do the little details and those moments of delight of kind of ooh, that's a cool little animation or little thing that just happened, other than necessarily just having sort of these flat designs or something like that. So,
and it makes people want to connect more with your app or your brand, because it's oh, these people took the extra time to make those delightful details for me. So it just makes you feel I don't know, you're
it's
really
crafted a little bit more. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
So
I mean, even this presentation, I have to say, there's so much greatness happening. When all the shapes come together, you have the little animations. I love it.
I appreciate it. So I'm a senior designer over at EFM in San Diego. That's the team right there. That's San Diego right there. That's me right there. So it's an awesome team that I work with. We work on a lot of different applications for Microsoft, along with some other clients that we work with, and we have a really awesome team. And we're pretty small, but we're very nimble, and we know how to work well together, and we're very collaborative, and it's just it's fun to come into work every day and work with these people. So I'm excited to be working there. And yeah, we just launched a series of apps for the new Surface line that just came out with Microsoft. So it's actually cool to see those applications on devices, how customers are interacting with them. And essentially they're apps that kind of demo the actual product and some of the features that you might see on them. So it's kind of like an educational app. So I was able to design with the team those experiences. And I want to get this laptop right here.
Yeah.
So here's some of the work I've done in the past. It's a little bit all over the place because honestly, like I like a lot of things. I like illustrating, I like designing, I like doing branding work and stuff like that. So this is actually for a friend of mine that runs this dog-friendly meetup in San Diego. So definitely check her out.
Ooh.
Dog-friendly SoCal.
I'll have to tell my sister about that. But
Yeah.
I was just mentioning my sister has a new dog.
Yeah,
so.
It's cool because they find like hikes that are friendly for dogs. So they kind of do the research for you ahead of time, so you kind of know, which are going to be those like hikes that are a little bit more dog friendly, really. So super cool. And then like one of the first things that I was really proud of was like I designed a tour poster for Imagine Dragons in 2012. So that just goes to show like design kind of can be anything really. It could be posters, it could be apps, it could be illustrations and things like that. So I just have a hard time committing to one type of style. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like a chameleon.
It's funny like that you say that because I took a look at your portfolio and like your work before obviously you came on the stream, and I was like, well, there's like quite a range of different types of work. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
we do have a question on the chat from Richard about like what application or like program you use to make this.
Oh, for this one? Oh, this is Adobe XD actually. I felt like we might as well use the software. All the stuff you're seeing that is moving around, it's the auto animate feature, which is super awesome. But yeah, so that's some of my work. So the point of the stream today is to talk about, why is it important to design for multiple screens? I wanted to actually ask the chat, like if they had any ideas of why we would do that.
Yeah, and I saw we had a couple other people joining us from around the world. We have some people in, let's see, Maka in Georgia. And then earlier I saw some people like not from the U.S., but from around the world as well. So it's super cool. What was the question you want kind of people
Oh, yeah, sorry. So
No.
maybe I can ask you guys, like, why is it important, do you think, to design for multiple screens when you're designing an app or a website? Like, maybe, let's see what you think.
Yeah, so let us know in the chat and answer if you have any thoughts on that for Cody.
What do you think?
Why it's important to design for multiple screens? I don't know. So I think in my mind, I mean, it's the age that we live in, that there just are so many devices that we're on, right? We are on our phone, or we might be like at our laptops here right now. And keeping in mind like where people are is super important, and like what they're trying to accomplish or do on those screens, and like the different places that they are, and making sure that they're still like legible and something that makes sense. Like, because when you have a large screen versus a small screen, like you're going to need to adjust your designs for people.
Oh, we've got
we have some answers coming in.
Richard Otley saying accessibility and usability. Yep, that's definitely true.
To reach many people, it's Maka.
Yes. Let's see here.
I think Val's point too of like that like sometimes if you're like certain mobile devices or certain things are only available in certain countries is definitely a good thing to keep in mind as well.
Consider those different sizes and things like that. Yeah, I think these are all great. So I put together like a few.
Now, what do you think, Cody?
I mean, I think a lot of things, but I think overall you want to create a seamless and harmonious experience for anybody that's using your app or website or whatever that visual is. You want to make sure that it functions properly on each device. Like if I'm looking at something on a tablet or a mobile device, it should have some kind of continuity between a desktop, application or desktop experience. You want there to be, it also needs to, like I said, function properly. So I know we've all been on like websites that are not optimized for mobile, and you have to like zoom in, and it's super annoying. And so you're starting to see less and less of that now, though, because I feel like a lot of these like bigger brands are really kind of, they understand that this is important, and almost everybody's on their phone nowadays. You have like 90% of people probably making purchases off like Instagram or even like websites, e-commerce websites. So it's super important to just make sure that you're thinking about that when you're designing. And it also like, it maintains trust and credibility for your brand. So like, if I go to a website and it is not optimized properly, chances are I'm not gonna come back because to me it says that the brand doesn't care about that, or they don't care about me. And I know it's probably dramatic, but like it's true. Like I feel like nobody would want to go to a site that's not optimized for mobile. And I think this has probably been brought up before, but Google kind of favors websites these days that are optimized for mobile. That's just kind of like one of their criteria now when you're browsing through the internet. So
it's funny you say that because Nora on the chat literally said, and also because Google says I have to.
Exactly. See, it's kind of common knowledge now. I feel like in the design world, like people know that. So I'm probably just reiterating what other people have said, but it's totally true. And like if Google, Google's like a leader in tech, so you kind of want to follow some of their, guidelines and recommendations, but definitely bring new things to the table as well. So yeah. So that's kind of my top level. Let me know if I'm missing anything, guys. Like this is just kind of like top level ideas that I kind of thought of.
Yeah, and thanks for the responses on the chat to Cody's question. Keep, engaging and let us know if you have any questions for him as he's going through.
Eric Stu says, absolutely, because this is not the 1990s. Zing.
Touche.
Yeah. It's
not 1990s.
So yeah, with that, it's our duty as designers to be responsive bull.
Wow. Yeah. I saw you looking at me. I'm like, oh no, you're like definitely looking for my response.
Yeah, I try to add a little dad joke every now and then.
Wow, yeah. This is going to be a great stream. I'm excited.
My buddy Nick from EFM is probably loving this right now. So yeah. So since we're in San Francisco, and I personally love seafood. Do you like seafood?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Fellow seafood lover here.
What would you have done if I was like, don't like seafood?
I might have to like scoot my chair.
Wow, the stream would have just ended.
No, it'd be fine.
I like seafood.
Everybody's different. But yeah, so I thought it'd be cool to design like a seafood app, or not a seafood app, but like if you go to like a restaurant or a cafe, like a seaside cafe, maybe, because in San Diego, there's a lot of like really good restaurants and cafes that I like to go to, but a lot of times there's like a line at the door. And it can be like frustrating to want to get, like, I just want to get some oysters and get out of here and like go on a run. But like, that's not always the case because there's, everybody loves seafood.
You want to eat oysters and then go for a run?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, that sounds like literally the worst thing you could eat before going for a run.
Maybe. Hey, so oysters are super good for you and they have like a lot of like zinc and like, a bunch of other stuff.
Okay, so when I said seafood, I mean like, I like fish. I like crab. I don't do oysters and things like that.
I love lobster, so that's another good one.
Okay,
and
just
shrimp.
to clarify, I don't want to like upset you before we move forward.
Okay.
Clarity. Okay.
Oysters are very like a unique kind of type of food. But anyway, so I thought it'd be cool if, like, we're in San Francisco, like in the spirit of the city, like design, an experience that kind of solves that problem, like waiting in line. Like maybe you can get in line get to the restaurant, order on your app, and then it's put into a queue so that you can just go sit at your table, maybe grab a drink, kind of wait for your food to be prepped. And because we're going to be designing mobile, I think that we should also account for like a tablet. So maybe there's people that come into the restaurant that don't have their smartphone with them, or they don't really care for downloading apps. There could be a tablet just kind of there that you could like check out on as well. Kind of like if you go to like, I don't know if like McDonald's has those nowadays where you can go and like order at the counter kind of thing. But I guess just accounting for different types of people and like different like user journeys, I guess. So we'll design mobile first, and then we'll scale it to like a tablet with the responsive resize feature.
Someone else, Jamie, also. Ew, oysters. I feel like
oysters.
That, yeah.
Oh, Samantha. Yep, I know Sam.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
You know everybody on the chat.
I feel like it's like 50-50 with the oysters here. Like.
Yeah, I mean, oysters I definitely feel like is one of those, either you love them or you hate them.
You got to give them another chance, I think.
Maybe give them a chance then. I've never had oysters, to clarify on that.
So then you can't say that you don't like them.
I can. I ate a mussel once, I feel like.
That's similar.
I was forced by my aunt. And
Some
it was
people
traumatizing.
Really?
Oh, I hate.
So you didn't like it?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Texture.
Maybe you don't like oysters then.
Okay. Yeah.
Anywho, so I have some kind of like top level design goals that I hope that we can achieve during these 2 days. Number one is we want to create an elegant and functional design. I'm thinking something modern and clean, easy to navigate. Hopefully it's attractive and people want to interact with it. We'll use some Adobe stock that I've kind of pre-selected. We might have to find additional photos. So we want good photography, and hopefully we can be somewhat consistent with the photography that we're using, so it creates that kind of cohesive look and feel. And yeah, we want to think about accessibility. I know somebody mentioned that earlier. And if we have time, I'd like to add some interactivity. So maybe we can play around with some auto animate features.
Cool.
Hopefully some fixed elements, maybe some drag gestures, potentially some overlays. If there's anything that I'm not including on this list, like feel free to shout it out in the chat. And yeah, so like I said, we're going to design for mobile and tablet sizes, and we will use responsive resize. Super awesome feature that saves a lot of time. If you guys aren't familiar with it, you're going to be familiar with it very soon. And yeah, we want to just keep in mind our sizing for those different device screens. I don't know why I have drag gestures under there, but that probably should be over here. So yeah, let's move forward. These are the pages that I've kind of scoped out for us to design. We might find that we need to design more as we're kind of going through this, but I think the main ones are like a home page, maybe like when you open up the app for the first time, there's some sort of screen that you can kind of scroll through, learn a little bit about the restaurant. And then the big feature here is like build your order. So I'm thinking almost like an Uber Eats or like a Postmates kind of like as inspiration, kind of seeing all the different menu items on there and being able to like quick add them to your basket or cart. And then maybe like once you have all of your items selected, there's a checkout screen where you can kind of like do a quick little like review and like overview of what you've added. Maybe there you have the option to add more things or maybe even like remove something from your cart and then check out. So I think that's kind of like our outline for this. And so I wanted some help from you guys because I had some like rough ideas of names, like Portside Cafe or like Adrift. I'm thinking something very like elegant and like almost kind of classy, like a little bit like more of an upper scale kind of seafood restaurant. So these are just some ones that I like kind of came up really quickly, but if you guys have sea boogers, if you guys have better names, like definitely drop them in the chat.
Cool, yeah. So let us know in the chat of these options, or if you have other ideas, which one you think we should use for the restaurant name as Cody designs in Adobe XD.
I think something definitely like short and, ooh, Starboard's pretty cool. Yeah, something short and sweet like that. Starboard sounds cool.
Starboard does sound cool. It, for whatever reason, reminded me of like Star-Lord.
Star-Lord.
Maybe I watched too much like Marvel, yeah, on the
yeah,
airplane.
I feel that.
Lexington Cafe.
Ocean Basket.
Ocean Basket.
The word Lexington is very like premium to me.
Yeah, it does
reason.
sound fancy.
You could like abbreviate it to like Lex Cafe or something.
I like that.
Windward sounds classy.
So a couple people like the Windward one that you had up already.
What do we think about Starboard? I actually kind of like that one too. Man, it's so cool how everybody's just all over the world chiming in right now. Lucas says Portside for sure. Tim, anything with star on or wars is the name. Starboard looks like Starbucks. Okay, maybe we should stay away from Starboard though. Eric says, my real parents just call me on Skype growing up and send me money to keep me alive.
So we have a range here.
Which one do you think?
Another one for Portside. Catch. Ignoring Tim's comment about the zombie baby. Portside is...
Maybe we'll just do Portside then.
Yeah, I'd say either between Portside or Windward, because I think those are the ones on the chat that we're kind of getting the most towards. Whichever one doesn't sell oysters would be my
We're
vote.
definitely getting oysters in here, okay? And they're gonna be in this design too, so you're gonna have to look at them for a little bit.
Oh man. All right.
Okay, so typically when I'm designing something like this, or working on like a mobile app or even like a website, it's when I can, I will actually draw out some wireframes or some rough ideas. See, like not all of this is probably gonna make it in. I was just kind of like, do I want to put a search menu in there? I don't know. Like, is it when you're at the restaurant, do people actually want to be searching? I don't know. Like maybe they just want to kind of discover things on the menu. So I have this screen here. This should actually be switched, but you would start on the home screen here. Maybe you have like your logo. See, I use Portside as like my working name there.
Nice. I feel like you're a magician. Like everybody is now saying Portside, and it's like you somehow knew.
See, I knew.
Wow.
I was able
Maybe
to
it was
manifest
the order,
it.
like like how people do that on like.
You're right though. Like when you go into presentations, if you put like your favorite one first,
yeah, it's the ordering.
That sometimes like inceptions people to like choose that one. So I promise I
Wow.
wasn't trying to manipulate you guys.
Wow, yeah.
It happened organically.
Sure it did.
See, maybe if I would have put windward up here, it would have been selected first.
I mean, there's only one way to find out. Just kidding. Come back next week.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, like I think this is just like a good way to kind of get your ideas on paper and just kind of, really explore the different types of treatments and pages that you would want to design. So in this case, I have like a home page. I'm thinking like a big call to action right when you land is important. So I want this page to be something that people can scroll through and discover more about the restaurant itself, but I also don't want to get them away from actually ordering, because that's the main sort of call to action here. But maybe some sort of intro statement here that says like what it is, like Seaside Eats to your table kind of thing.
Nice.
And then we have a navigation at the bottom, maybe like orders in the middle because it's the main thing, or the main functionality of the app. Maybe you have a profile, maybe not. And then maybe some locations of other spots that are in San Francisco as well. And then you have your basket up here that would take you to your, I'm calling it basket because I feel like it kind of fits in with the seafood theme a little bit.
Yeah.
But you would have like your items that you've selected. So no oysters in the basket, but and then maybe your subtotal and your call to action to place the order with maybe a summary of the total of all your items. But this would be like the page where you're actually discovering and like looking at different items. So maybe there's a tab like for brunch, lunch, or dinner, and then all of your different kind of cards here that contain the different foods. So in this case, we've got a little shrimp scampi. And I thought it'd be cool to have like a little like counter or like a little time indication of how long it takes to prep that. So maybe if you only have 20, 30 minutes to like get a quick lunch in, you're not going to order, the thing that takes 45 minutes. So yeah. I thought that was like a fun little feature that I'd seen on some of the Uber Eats and Postmates and Grubhub kind of apps and things like that. So little things like that I think are what make people want to come back to your app because you're really solving for a need. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I know people in the chat were saying these are like very neat sketches. Do you usually start with sketching on paper first, or what's your usual process?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie and say that, yes, every single project I wireframe like this, but I think I try to make it a priority as much as I can if I have enough time in the project to do so. Because it does kind of like, you feel a little bit more connected to your work when you do it that way. Like I'll throw my earphones in and go to like a coffee shop and that's how I did these ones, and I was really able to think of things that I hadn't have thought of had I would have just jumped into the software right away. So it takes you a little bit further away from like the digital screen and kind of allows you to be a little bit more mindful of the pages you're going to make. So yeah, typically I would recommend it. We got
thrown out of there.
We got thrown out. There we go. Let me skip forward, guys.
Cool, and yeah, while you're doing that, I want to say hello to some extra people who joined us on the chat. We have Boris from Croatia. We had some people from Saudi Arabia and
what's going on, guys?
Other places. Yeah, so thanks for joining us. Cody's just been going through kind of introducing himself to the stream, and he's going to be designing in Adobe XD, so he's just going through a bit of his process and what we're going to be working on today.
Looks like we got a minute. I can show you guys this next screen real quick. So this morning I actually thought of like some other pages that might be necessary for this. So maybe once you actually complete your order, there's a screen that pops up, and you notice how my wireframes get sloppier as I go. But I think it'd be cool to have some indication like, hey, like, your order's submitted, hang tight, we'll be right with you. Maybe it's like 12 minutes until you expect your food, and then the ability to add more, like maybe somebody forgot something, so you want to give them that opportunity to add on, kind of upsell.
Yeah, it's always good not just to think about like the one path, but there might be ways they need to go back as well. I feel like sometimes in the experience people forget going back to another part of the design.
I mean, that's something I would definitely use. I'm very forgetful, and
I change my mind.
Yeah, my mind. I want to go back and edit this. And so I was also thinking like maybe. Oh, sorry.
Oh, what was that?
Well, okay, so like this screen right here is like if I have these big cards on the first page where you can kind of see like the different items, but I think it's nice to like throw in like a variety of different types of card designs so that some people would rather see lists instead of like a big card. So I think adding in some different layouts for cards would be interesting. And then if you click into maybe, so there's like a quick add where you can like just add it to your cart like that. But if you want to just go in and like learn more about the plate, you could get like an expanded view of that item. So I think we'll kind of think about that when we start wireframing, but looks like our
Nice.
countdown is up.
Yes, so we have hit the countdown. So Rylan was just asking, what is Chat and Win? So right now, head on over to Behance if you're not there already. Make sure that you're engaging in the chat, and then you'll have a chance to win some Sticker Mule stickers. So this is Chat and Win.
All right.
All right, we are back for Chat and Win. So make sure that you're engaging in the chat. Maybe let us know what your favorite type of seafood dish is. Do you have a favorite seafood dish?
I mean, we know I like oysters, but I actually think
yeah, that's right.
lobster, like a lobster plate with like some butter, like, oh, it's just so good.
Oh, that sounds really good right now, actually.
So you like lobster?
I do, yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool.
I
We
eat lobster.
can
I
agree
think
on
we've very clearly established, don't like oysters. It's mainly like the weird section of seafood in general.
Oysters are a little weird, I'm not gonna lie though.
Okay, yeah. I've never been very large into them. I'm more of just like fish. Oh, we had someone who says lobster roll.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about
Yes.
lobster rolls. That's a good one.
I like crab in general too.
Crab
Like
is good.
seafood?
Do you ever like do the like where you crack it open and?
No,
I feel like it's more for the experience right there, like cracking it open. It takes
having
a while.
to wear the bib.
The bib, yeah. It's
all
a good
about
novelty.
that bib moment. Yeah.
Salted egg crab. I've never heard of that. Shrimp,
I've never heard of salted egg crab.
calamari. Calamari. People love calamari.
I love calamari.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that side note, we do have our winner for today, so congratulations to Jonathan.
Nice.
You have just won 100 free Sticker Mule stickers, and so someone from the Behance team is going to be messaging you directly on how you can go ahead and claim your prize. But don't be too sad if you did not win the Chat and Win today. You can still go ahead and use this free code, and you can get, I think it's 10 stickers for $1.
It's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a great deal. So thank you all for joining us for Chat and Win. There's also a chance Cody will be back again tomorrow, so we will have another Chat and Win. So make sure that you're tuning back in tomorrow, and you can also have another chance to win then as well.
I need to get some stickers for my laptop. I see you got like all the Adobe stuff.
Yeah,
there.
I do have quite a few. Oh, it's always backwards, but I have a couple of stickers here, yeah. Cool. And so for those of you who are just joining us, Cody is going through and going through his process of what he's going to be designing for the seafood restaurant in Adobe XD. And then I just want to also remind you guys really quickly that we do have the Daily Creative Challenge in XD that's going on today. So make sure that you're checking that out and working on those, because Cody and I will be, there's the countdown just down here. We'll be able to give you guys some feedback on those when time's up.
Awesome. Can't wait for that. So I think for day one, we're just going to wireframe. We'll see. Maybe we can get into a little bit of design towards the end of the stream, but we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. And then day two tomorrow, hopefully we'll get into some design. So let's stop talking. Let's get into it, you know? So
Love
I'm going
that.
to my other project here. I named my file Good Luck Cody because I was like nervous. So I just need I need like a little
adorable.
reminder. Okay, so
You're doing great.
thank you. Thanks for joining us on the chat, guys. It makes me feel better. So I typically will start with some like rough ideas of like a color palette. Since I want this to be more of like a premium kind of elegant restaurant, I picked like neutral colors that I think are a little bit more, I don't want to say like dull, but they're just not as vibrant as you would see like maybe in a, you know, Rubio's or something like that, which isn't the vibe, which I love Rubio's, but this is more of like a kind of like high-end seafood place. So I'm thinking like nice photography like this, really cool shots.
Yeah, I
and
like
then,
that.
Yeah, it's kind of a classy kind of look and feel. This is actually pulled from a site that I saw that was pretty cool called like, it's an underwater restaurant. Like, I think it's in like Norway or something like that.
Like the restaurant is
It's underwater.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to clarify.
So
Shoot.
I saw this picture. I was like, okay, I want to like kind of piggyback off that look and feel. So inspiration's everywhere. I always look at different websites to find stuff like that. But yeah, this is kind of like the working color palette that I have. You know, it kind of feels like this crab color a little bit. And you got your blue that's a little bit more like the ocean. And then, I don't know, I kind of like this like gold, like old gold color that could kind of work well for like subtitles and things like that. And then I started playing around with some fonts. I think this one's called Orpheus. Kind of reminds me of the Matrix, Morpheus. But I think like a nice serif font will help to make it feel a little bit more sophisticated. But paired with like a cool sans serif, all caps, like kind of kerned out a little bit, makes it feel kind of classy and premium.
Yeah, and that all caps is nice, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I might have made some styles here. Yeah, so I've got my colors in the assets panel. This is really like helpful when you're designing, just to kind of have, it's like a designer's cheat sheet in a sense, because you always have to refer back to it. And you know, like if you hopped in my file, you could just kind of follow this as like a guide. So I've got some character styles in there too.
Yeah, and I feel like the assets panel is also super useful for if you end up changing your mind down the line and you already have everything kind of in that yellow color and you want to change it a little bit. If you change it in your assets panel, it'll change that color across your entire design file. So that's like a really quick way to like not be stuck when you decide to change your mind later down the line.
I love that XD has all these little like features that kind of just speed up your workflow. Like the repeat grid, we're going to use that a little bit in a little bit, but yeah, it's awesome.
Also, I kind of feel like I'm matching this coloring that's happening here.
You fitting the color palette?
Yeah, I feel like I fit in this color palette right now.
See, maybe you planned for it more than I did.
Yeah, well, maybe later you'll change the colors so that you like, you know, fit in with it as well.
I know, I don't.
Somehow I knew now. Yeah, you kind of fit in.
Okay, so yeah, so like I said, I just kind of like when I'm like early on in the phase of designing, I would just kind of like have a little like cheat sheet like this to kind of just give me a little bit of a guide when I'm designing. So it speeds up your workflow if you do a little bit of thought on your colors and your types and things like that. It definitely might evolve as we're designing, but I think having this is very helpful. So with that, I think we should start wireframing.
Hey, sounds good.
So I'm gonna go ahead and head over to my design layers here, and I'm gonna add a artboard. So we've got all these different sizes that we can choose from. I'm probably gonna go with like an iPhone 10. It's kind of like the most recent. Delete our little crab for now. And so here's our iPhone size. I'm gonna call this one, let's start with the home page. And I should probably grab my wireframes just so I have as reference.
Well, yeah, and Mia in the chat said that we were talking about the assets panel and the coloring. She said it's been an absolute lifesaver for my project's recent rebrand. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, when you go through a rebrand and those pieces change and you have to go in your designs, really nice.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time and it's just like it's something you don't have to worry about anymore, you know? Especially like if a client has like a last minute change and you're like, we want it to be purple instead of blue. You're like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that really quickly.
Exactly. So I think we'll start with this home page and then we'll get into like the build order. I'm just gonna grab my rectangle tool and just kind of bring it all the way. I want the bottom of the screen to be like a different section of the page. So I'll probably kind of peek the next section there. And I'm gonna just make this, cause we're doing wireframes, I'll make this gray. And then maybe our logo, so our logo is gonna sit in the top left. So at this stage, I'm just gonna keep it very low fidelity and just kind of like place things. So I'm not really concerned about how pretty it looks. It's more just about like spacing and content that's gonna be on the page. So maybe this is our little logo icon. And then this will be like our text. So just kind of going through and just really just placing items that are gonna be on the page. And I'll group these, just call it logo.
So Maka in the chat was asking if we could share our favorite UX tricks. I think now that we're starting to talk about a little bit of tips and tricks in Adobe XD, I have a feeling maybe eventually you might use repeat grid, which is definitely a cool one. So maybe Maka, wait and see for repeat grid is a really cool feature in XD.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna use repeat grid in a second. I think some of the plugins in XD are really cool. Like I use this one, icons and symbols. So like these are gonna be icons on the right-hand side of like maybe our search and then our basket. Instead of like making those, I'll probably just, let's see, basket. So all you get is click that and it kind of plops it in.
Yeah.
So that's super helpful if you're kind of like in a pinch or you just kind of want a quick icon. A lot of times I'll make my own icons, but this is really nice to have when you're kind of just fleshing out an idea. So I guess we'll just actually add those in now. Might as well. Search. This one seems cool.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different plugins that you can use. I know some other favorites that people have are the one that fills in different avatars. So instead of you having to like find a bunch of people's faces to drop in, it'll just populate them all for you.
That's like the computer generated one, right? Where they're all like AI faces or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I'll have to maybe...
And if you don't like them, you can just like shuffle and it'll populate new ones for you. There's also like ones around like color tone and everything, like how it will look for people who are more like have color blindness or things like that for accessibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super
so
helpful.
there's a lot of great plugins or like languages if you want to see what it would look like if it's then like in a different language and like how your design's going to adjust for that. So the top of the screen there's plugins, so you can always go and check out Adobe XD's plugins that they have.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Search. So I'm just naming my layers because I think it's good to kind of make sure that your layers are clean and easy to find for later. And I'm going to group all these and just call it nav. So it's kind of all organized nicely. For tomorrow when we come in here, it'll be easy to come back and just make sure that everything's kind of aligned. So that'll be our navigation. I'm thinking that it's going to like sit on top of the image. So this is like our hero image. And I'll probably even add like these little like cross pieces to kind of help indicate that. You'll see that a lot in wireframes. People will put these kind of cross pieces to just indicate that there's an image. I'll just copy and paste and then reflect this. And again, I'm going to group these guys. I might just group all this actually into a folder called image. Cool, so now I'm thinking we have some text that kind of lives on top of these. I'll probably just grab the one I already made. Copy, paste. What do we want to say here? I think Portside Cafe. Seaside eats to your table. Maybe that's not the best headline, but if you guys have a better one, let me know in the chat. And I'm probably just going to make these gray for now since it's wireframes, just so we don't get too caught up on the design quite yet. Typically, I'll actually use like maybe just like a basic font, like an Arial or something like that, or something that's not as designed out so that there's like if in a wireframing presentation, you're not too hung up on those things. Hey, what's up, Colt? Colt was just on the stream a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
I think he was designing an app as well, yeah.
Oh, nice. Thanks for joining us on the chat. I also see Jonathan was wondering, have you ever thought about learning web development and becoming a developer yourself? I mean, you've done the animation, you've done design a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely come across my mind. I don't think my brain works that way as well, though. Like, I'm very visual, and I've tried to like do some like tutorials and things like that. I could definitely learn it. Maybe later in life I will, but I'm just having so much fun with design, and I want to like let the people that are really good at development kind of like own that. And I don't know, something could change tomorrow, and I'm like, you know what, I'm taking an HTML and JavaScript class. So I don't know. What about you?
I'm very similar. I feel like it's less up my alley. I feel like I could learn it and do it, but I also feel like design's kind of my sweet spot. Like that's where I like to be a little bit more. Plus with Adobe XD and like with the tools that are out there now for like a designer, like without needing to code, like I can still bring my designs to a certain level of like animation and all of that I don't necessarily need the coding aspect right now, but
you can get it like 90% there, like especially when we prototype and you know you have all these different assets kind of built out. It's really easy at that point. Well, I don't say it's easy for the developers, but it gets them a lot further along the process than you know even 5 years ago we didn't have all this stuff. So
oh yeah, totally.
So I just extended my artboard down because I'm going to add another section. You can just do that by selecting the artboard and then dragging this bottom piece down. It's going to be a little bit of a longer page. Sort of like a web app, so it doesn't necessarily all have to fit within the first area. And I think we need to add our call to action button here. So I'm just gonna grab the rectangle tool. Maybe I'll turn my grids on too, so I can make sure we're all lined up.
So
That was
Rachel
fun.
in the chat is wondering, do you always start with wireframes? She notices that sometimes people jump straight to high fidelity prototypes with, minimal wireframing.
I don't always start with wireframes. It just depends. Like if we have a quick turnaround on a project, I can come into XD and just start designing. And I've been working in this kind of field for a while, so I'm fast at this. But I think when you're going through like a strategy phase and you want to present concepts, wireframes are really helpful to get the client on board. And like I said, you don't want to get hung up on design right away. It's more about like the content on the page and the functionality within the app, and you want to make sure that you're solving problems before you're making things look pretty. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say all the time, but I definitely kind of like sketching. I always try to like at least implement that part in the process early on.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like depending on the project, I feel like client work, like sometimes I'll definitely start more on the wireframe side just because you don't want to get too far along and then it be really not what people are looking for. You just kind of want to start to get a sense with them.
Absolutely.
But when you have something like working at Adobe and we have like a visual design language and style already, sometimes on certain projects, you can easily jump a little bit further along because you just have that visual language already established.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of starting with those pieces. So kind of varies.
Yeah, it's all contextual too. Like if you're working internally with the other designers here, like like you said, you can kind of jump ahead because there's that history and familiarity with the projects. So I'm making our call to action button. I'm gonna turn these grids off now. So this is like the main, what we want people to do right away is to build their order. And then I'm just gonna select both of these and come to our alignment tools and just make sure it's lined up. It's actually a little high, but. And then I'll group my button. I always just kind of put like BTN or like ICN for icon, like I abbreviate my layers like that, but that's just the way I do it. I'm sure everybody has their own cool way of doing it, but BTN, build order. And so yeah, this is where we'll have like a nice image. We can actually preview this real quick and make sure it lines up well. So this is like your viewport on your phone. So you'll come here, you'll see the logo, you'll see your search, your basket, and then a nice kind of like welcoming statement that maybe sums up what the app is about or what the experience is about. And then the main call to action here. And you'll be able to scroll down. So I think for the next section, we can add maybe like another statement. Maybe it's like a little bit about the restaurant that we didn't say up here. It's like more specific to like their brand, like a branded statement, I guess. So I'll probably make this a little bit smaller, like 36.
We have some questions in the chat for you. So like, who are some designers that inspire you?
Oh man, so many.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Oh, I mean, a lot of the people that I work with are super inspiring. My buddy Colt, actually, who's on the stream, has got a really awesome design style, very clean. Who else? Dan Petty's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I like his design style a lot, and he's worked with a lot of cool designers and collaborates on like a lot of those Epicurrents projects. There's that other designer, it's Zenari. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she just kind of released her own portfolio site that looked awesome. I think it like won a few awards. I wish I could remember her name exactly. It's like Zenari. She's a really awesome designer. We should probably like figure out her portfolio link, but she's got a really cool like editorial, like high fashion kind of look and feel going on, which
cool.
is very very different from a lot of stuff you see on like Dribbble and Behance. So I like her style a lot.
Well, where do you go for like inspiration? Like,
man, I mean, different like websites, like definitely a Behance. I'm always browsing there. Dribbble, but I think like I try to get like magazines like that are just like like you go to like a barber shop or something. There's like a magazine sitting there. I like to flip through those because it's more of like that editorial style.
Yeah.
So you can see how people are playing with type and just like cool visuals and like layouts and but also just like yesterday I just went on a run, so kind of running around town, like looking at the different signage on different stores and things like that.
Just ate those oysters and went for a run. Yeah, sounds about
I didn't
right.
eat oysters yesterday though, but maybe today. But I think that getting away from the computer is always good, just to kind of like get a fresh take on things and not always looking in the same industry of what you're working on. Like even here, like I'm kind of just like looking around. Like there's like some cool illustration in the green room. Like
Yes, there's some awesome artwork.
Yeah, looking at stuff like that. So just keeping it fresh and different, I think, is important. So you're not always like looking at the same type of inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm similar. I like to go out and like get some fresh air, go for a hike, like clear my head. There's kind of moments where I get stuck on things. And I also feel like, I mean, I browse similar type websites and stuff like that, but I feel like there's also, I love looking at professional work and like what other people are doing on the high side, but I also have found now that I've been like teaching more as well, like I'm really inspired by like my students' work as well. I feel like kind of going to like them and kind of seeing the exploratory stuff that they've been doing is also like super inspiring.
That's a wealth of information, man. Just like talking to people and
Yeah.
like you can do a lot on the computer, but just going out and like meeting new people. Like I go to a lot of the Adobe events and just be inspired by other creatives that are, you know, you'll have like a photographer or a UI designer or a lettering artist. Like you never know where that inspiration is going to come from. And I think part of it is just like putting yourself out there and like meeting new people too. All right, so locally caught, fresh seafood.
Well, yeah, thank you all for the questions on the chat. Keep them coming. They're great.
So I'm just putting like some kind of like branded statement here that just like
Always
kind
fresh, no exception.
lets the customer know that this is like fresh food, because people have a weird thing about seafood. Sometimes they always wonder like, am I gonna get sick if I eat it? But no, we're reassuring the customer that this is locally caught and fresh. And then maybe we have like an image here. So like we want this page to be fun, so they can scroll down and learn more about the brand. So I'm just making a box. And then I'll grab the same lines from before and just option, wait, hold on. I'm gonna option drag these guys down. I always find it best just to kind of reuse elements you already made. It just saves time. Like why remake things when you have done it before?
Totally. And plus, I feel like once you know, I know you're using also a lot of like hotkeys or shortcuts. Like once you get used to the shortcuts too, like when you can just start to work like really fast. I feel like in the programs.
Cool. So yeah, that's just another moment for some kind of brand statement. And then I think we could probably do a section right here where it maybe talks about the location, so where it's located. So I'm just gonna grab this same image and duplicate it. Maybe it's not as tall as like the hero. We want to like leave the hero as like the big tall image. And then one more, copy and paste here. This is like located near, what is it, Pier 32? Is that the pier that's out here in San Francisco?
That is one of them, yeah.
Maybe we say like located near Pier 32.
Nice.
And perhaps there's like a call to action here to like learn more.
Pier 39 is the big one.
Pier 39?
Yeah.
Should we
So
change
is
it to Pier
Jim.
39? Let's do Pier 39.
I'm like, there's so many pier numbers, but an excellent tip from Jim over there.
Thank you, Jim. And then, so I want to add one more section here. I don't think I have it in my wires, but maybe we can start introducing these cards on the bottom of the page to kind of, if somebody scrolled all the way down, they can actually start ordering from the home page. Even though they're going to click up here to get into that experience, perhaps we kind of tease it at the bottom.
Nice.
So I'll copy this guy up here. We'll paste. And then this will be more of like a card. That looks good. And then, so what should our first item be?
Of food?
Of food, yeah. I was going to say oysters, but...
I had this feeling that you were going to say oysters, which is why I was like, oh, come
Why would you
on.
think that?
I don't know. We definitely haven't talked about oysters at all on this stream.
We'll do shrimp.
Okay.
Because you like shrimp, right?
I eat shrimp, yes.
All right, cool. So So we'll start, maybe make it like an 18 point because it's going to be smaller on this card here. I'm going to bring my text box in, and I'm going to left justify it because I want it to always like meet that side kind of flush. We'll say a shrimp plate.
You know, as you're sort of talking about like bringing it over and like all of that, we had a question in the chat a little bit about like padding and stuff. So Mia was wondering, she knows it might be a little early to ask, but when do you take padding and spacing kind of more seriously in mockups?
I mean, even like right here, I'll probably do it. Like I can like butt this up against the edge and then hold shift and go 1, 2, 3, and come down like 1, 2, maybe 2. So I kind of think about that when I'm designing wireframes. If I'm doing like tight wireframes. These are like tighter wireframes, I would say, because we actually are using like our fonts and stuff like that. So you can start to take it into consideration now. But again, like I said earlier, I don't normally start with like the font that I'm going to use from the very beginning. But yeah, now and tomorrow we'll definitely like line it up even more if we need to. We'll kind of see how it like when I have like a design in a good spot, I'll look at it on my phone and just preview and see like, because it might look great on the screen, but then when you look at it on your phone, you're like, oh, that's a little wacky. You know, I need to like space it out a little bit more. So it's kind of always in the back of my head when I'm designing. But yeah, good question. And I'm gonna duplicate this, and maybe this is where we say like ready in 10 minutes or something like that.
Oh
like,
yeah, the timing.
Yeah, so I'll say like 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm gonna go to my other font, which is Attriment. I'm gonna do all caps, I think, for this. And that's a little condensed. I'm gonna space this out. Maybe 80. Maybe about like a 16 point.
Yeah,
And we'll play
good.
around. We'll play around with like the sizing a little bit later, and maybe the colors of this. But we also want to add. Maybe there's like a little time icon here. I'll just put a square for now to remind us that we need to include that tomorrow, or maybe later today if we get in design. But how are we doing on time right now?
We're pretty good. Yeah, we have about just under 35 minutes until we do the feedback portion.
Okay.
So just a reminder for all of you on the chat that we have an XD Daily Creative Challenge going on right now. And actually, if we switch over to my screen, if you head on over and download that file, you will see this challenge for today, which is designing a grocery store checkout monitor. And so it's kind of actually well themed with what you're working on today, a little bit, and like kind of a grocery store.
Yeah,
thing.
totally.
But there's some tips from Sam, some inspiration, and if you start working on these now, then you can send them in, and Cody and I will be giving some feedback in about 30 minutes. So make sure that you're working on those.
Awesome, can't wait. Yeah, that's weird how it fits in the theme as well. Everything's just lining up.
I feel like you did some weird like magic thing. Like I don't know.
I don't know.
The more that
I
it
can't
keeps
tell you my
happening,
secrets.
the further I'm like, okay.
This is really weird.
Yeah.
So I'm just grouping this information here and just calling it left so that I know this is the left content. Because I also want to add like a quick add button right here. So maybe when you're coming through, you have the option to click the entire card and go to like a detail, like a product detail page. But if somebody already has been to the restaurant and perhaps they just want to like add it really quickly, we're going to give them that option. So I'm just going to add a button here. And I kind of want to make it like obnoxiously big so that when you're kind of just going through really quick, you can just tap it. Let's make this a little bit darker.
Yeah, and I find to like the point that you mentioned of like testing things on the phone and previewing it and kind of seeing how it feels, like stuff like this for like button sizes or like how like large the font is, it's like really nice to eventually like go over to the phone and actually like feel it out.
Yeah, it really helps with just sizing, and you know, you might put it in somebody else's hand too and get like a second opinion, because I find like that's like the best way to test is when it's because it's like your project, you're so close to it that like you kind of just need to give it to somebody else. Like maybe we'll give it to him and like have him like look at it like later and just see like, hey man, does this feel right for you, or is this like kind of off?
Yeah.
And again, just putting another icon in here, like we'll add like a plus icon or something tomorrow, but just keeping it kind of minimal for now.
Plus, I mean, so I have very small hands. I feel like your hands are probably yeah, much larger than mine. But it's like also just like how far you can reach, like all of that stuff, and like
Totally.
where you place things, obviously on the phone.
Yeah.
Like that all comes into play.
Yeah, so this one will actually should work well because it'll be in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not everybody's right-handed, but I feel like the majority of people probably are. So it'll be kind of there in the bottom right corner. So yeah, that's our button for add. And then I'm gonna group all this together so it's just our card. So we'll call it like card shrimp or something. And then maybe before we do this, we're gonna like title this section. So I'll copy that. Like maybe this is like popular, like since you're on the home page, maybe we're trying to introduce like the popular dishes. So we could just say popular. And then I'm gonna left justify this one. So we kind of have like a title to the section here. And I'll worry about this spacing tomorrow. Like we'll clean that up, but I think this is where we can use the repeat grid. So we'll grab our first card. I actually might make this a component just in case we want to make like changes later. So make component. So you see it has like the green kind of lines around it. And then I'll go to repeat grid and just bring this across. I think maybe like 3 or 4 is good for this mobile section. So like if you're kind of thumbing through or dragging, you can kind of see maybe like 4 different options.
Nice. And I think this also ties really nicely to what's going on in the chat. Mia was kind of wondering, how do you ensure consistency? And I know Eric said like using components is good.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely one way. And also I feel like how Cody kind of has his assets panel and has like the color themes or components, like kind of bringing together like the larger aspects of what you're going to use, like having a bit of consistency with like the fonts that you're going to use and things like that as well, will help as you are like, you don't have like too many elements, visual elements that you're working with.
Yeah, so we've all had those like files that just get out of hand like crazy, and this is a way to like really help you organize. Like you said, like the assets panel is awesome. So I'll actually come in here and like make sure that this is our card title 18 point. Okay, so I had one in there already. It was just a little bit darker, but that looks good. Maybe this is like our, I might just make one for this. We can call it a time title. Because I don't think this will be reused a lot. It's just like a specific and unique element for cards. So I might just call it something that I'll remember it by, like time title. So yeah, so that's our cards. And maybe we add like a footer at the bottom just so you know that you reached the bottom of the page and you have some sort of like helpful quick links if you don't want to go through this whole scrolling experience. So I will have to add more area here. All right, so I'm gonna grab my rectangle tool again. Just gonna drag. I'll make it a little bit darker just so I know that it's the footer, not an image. So I'm trying to be consistent with how I make these images, even in my wireframes. Like we're not necessarily in design yet, but having a consistent, look and feel for your wireframes is important as well. Because you don't want to get to like the next page and like, there's like a slightly like yellowish gray box or something. Like you want it to all be. You don't want to add anything that's going to distract, your clients or your customers, I guess. So let's go ahead and add some links here. I think it should be this font. And we'll just say like, maybe like about us. Maybe there's like about us page. I might actually use my repeat grid here too. And that's a little tight for me, like as far as spacing, so you can come in between these and just drag. Kind of like give them a little bit more breathing room. And I'll just say, build your order. Your basket. Not basket.
Your basket.
Maybe, what else would be on this website, you think? Or this web app? Maybe like a contact us.
Do you need to get back to this home? Is this the home or?
Oh yeah, maybe
so
add
maybe
home.
having home, if you're gonna have it on other pages.
It probably should be at the top then, huh? Build your order, your basket contest. Maybe locations.
Yeah.
Since we kind of have that up here.
Yeah, I like that.
That seems like it's enough, I think, for now. If we think of like other pages that we want to add, we can do that. There we go. I kind of like them centered. Do you think centered is good for this, or would you? I've also seen it where it's like on the left-hand side, kind of like left justified. I think centered is nice.
I think center's nice because it's a very different also element than you have across the rest. Like your footer's a very different thing, and you didn't do much. Like too much, yeah.
And maybe we add like the logo down here as well, so you're always kind of building that that brand familiarity. I'll make this a little bit darker, or maybe lighter. Oops. Oh, I need to make this a little bit taller. And maybe like some social media icons at the very bottom. Maybe like your, Instagram and Twitter.
Gotta get that gram.
Gotta get the social on. So yeah, I think that's good for the homepage. We can kind of just like hit this play button real quick. Oh, you know what I wanted to do is I want to make this like a persistent like logo that follows you down the page.
So a fixed header, yeah.
So if you go to prototype tab right here, you select the item that you want to fix. Oh, I think I can fix them both. Or maybe I'll ungroup these so I can just fix this one. Ungroup. Get my layers real quick. Call this logo. It might need to be outside of this group entirely. Yeah. So we'll click fix position when scrolling, and then let's preview that. There we go. So it's like your little like buddy down the page. Oh, we need to make sure it's on the top though, so it doesn't get hidden behind other content. There you go. So you have a persistent logo following down. It can sometimes be annoying, but I think if you have like a site that's got like color blocks and it allows for it to be legible down the page, then it's kind of nice, and definitely a trend that I've seen lately. But we'll see tomorrow when we actually start designing if it's going to be something that should stay there or not. So
yeah, but it's a nice feature. I feel like having like fixed elements, you'll see a lot of times like that transition where like the header will always stay, like, or it's like a top nav menu, or like you said, like a logo for the brand, so you kind of have a sense always where you are.
Totally. Maybe even now that I'm thinking about that whole like fixed element thing, like it could be cool to have like a build your order button persistent, or maybe there's like some kind of like tool that helps you wherever you are on this experience to like check out or something like that. So like maybe if you've added one item, maybe there's a checkout button that pops up or something,
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of that is also used, I feel like, for like commonly you'll see like a chat or a help or like something like you kind of see those fixed elements a lot for elements like that, or like adding something like a main call to action that your user might have, it might like always be fixed, or like on like some shopping sites you'll have like that arrow, right, to just like send you back to the top because you're like going for forever and it would be really painful
like,
to like just
up.
scroll. So I feel like fixed elements like those are some common uses for that.
Yeah, I think when it's used like with intention and it's not just used to be used, like then it actually has some kind of some real purpose. I've definitely been guilty of like adding things just because they look cool. I think we all kind of do it sometimes, like to explore as like a designer. But as you get like more into like working on projects, you start to prioritize what is actually going to make it into the build, because you want it to be functional and purposeful for the people that are using it. So that's one of the things about like when you're designing. This is kind of like for me, but I'm also designing for people that go to like seaside restaurants, so I have to kind of take myself out of it and like know what do people actually want when they're ordering food, so you might even have this whole experience and then you might build like a different flow altogether, so you can kind of like A/B test what the the best experience is. So that's something that you'll find a lot in like UX. All right, so How are we doing on time? We got 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, and so to answer, Thomas was sort of wondering, like, will tomorrow, like, the second part of this stream be this as well? Just to remind you, so we have, like, a full agenda that we go through. Tomorrow is the same agenda as today, so Cody will be back on the same time tomorrow for 2 hours. And yeah, it'll be a continuation, so right now he's going through the wireframes of the design, and then kind of tomorrow will be the evolution of that, going into, like, higher fidelity and, like, some prototyping, I'm sure, and just kind of bringing this more to life so you can see his process and continue to ask him questions about it.
Totally. Yeah, I think so. We're designing these wireframes today. I'm hoping that maybe tonight I'll tighten these up a little bit more, or maybe even tomorrow on the stream, and we can just start like plopping in assets on top of these wireframes. You know, maybe we'll duplicate these so we have them as a reference, but then we can actually sort of like use what we've already made. It just speeds up your kind of workflow if you do it that way, especially if you are a little bit more mindful of your wireframes when you're building them. Like I might come in here and actually like, see, I don't like how this is 688.5. I'll probably make that like 700 or something like that. So that's one of the things I'll look for tomorrow. But so I'm making another page here. Maybe this is our your build order page. So I'll just title it that. And I kind of want to keep these guys up here while you're on this page, because you still might want to search for a specific item and access your cart or your basket. So let's take a look at this real quick. So we've got build order. So maybe there's a title that says build order, so you know what page you're on. And then you have some tabs here that you can kind of click through. And this could also be like, if you wanted to do a different version of this, you could say like appetizers, you know, dinner. Like you could do whatever you want on that top thing. But I think for this purpose, like we'll make these the different types of menus that they offer. So if you come in at like 10:30 in the morning, you're gonna get the brunch menu, you know?
Nice, yeah.
And
Love a good brunch.
love a good brunch. I'm gonna have to get some brunch later, even though it's gonna be 2 o'clock.
It'll be silly.
Any good brunch spots around here?
Ooh, yes, actually.
Okay,
A
you have to tell
recommendation.
me
Yeah,
later.
I'll tell you after.
So I'm thinking that this won't be an image. It'll just be like a color block with like our text and our navigation on top of it. Just because they already kind of were, like the customer was already exposed to a lot of imagery here, and we're gonna have a lot of like cards down here with images. I think it's a nice visual break to have just a moment to like rest your eyes and kind of just see some type. So I'm gonna grab this.
Yeah, I like that. Plus, I feel like it differentiates, like, you know that you've kind of gone to this different page, like, you know that you're moving on in the experience to something different. If it, like, looks and feels, like, way too similar, then sometimes it's hard. Like, even if the title just says something different, visually it just looks and feels so similar.
That's a good point. It's kind of like subconsciously, like, indicating to the customer that, like, yeah, you're definitely on a different screen now. So, yeah, we'll have, like, our title here. And then we need our tabs. So I might borrow from this Command C, Command V, little hotkeys for you. I think everybody knows Command C, Command V, right? Like
I feel like those are definitely some of the essential basic ones that you need to know, yeah.
Well, if you don't, now you know.
My favorite, I think one of the things I love about XD, like the hard thing, I think, is that we, like as Adobe, we have so many different applications, obviously, that in XD, when you like Command C, Command V, it actually pastes it in place, right? Like in the same place versus, and that's like the intuitive thing. You would think you would want to always do that. But like in some of the other applications, that is not, or was not the case. Like we might have changed some of them, but it doesn't always, it'll paste just like randomly.
I love paste in place. It's like your best friend when you're working.
I feel like it should be the automatic thing.
Mm-hmm. So I've got brunch, lunch, and dinner. And maybe like if you wanted to add more, I could like peek off the page a little bit, like desserts. I don't think we're gonna serve desserts, but maybe we will. Who knows?
Two S's in the.
Oh yeah,
it's how I remember.
Desert.
Yeah, I love dessert, and the way I learned the difference was you always want 2 scoops of ice cream, not 1 for dessert. So 2 S's.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use that one. So I'm just using like the align tools up here to make sure that they're like perfectly spaced apart. But I might creep this one a little bit. There we go. And so right now when you land, since it's the time of day of brunch, I think Maybe this could be dynamic, so like if you come in like after brunch, it would default to lunch. But for now, we're gonna be. Wait, is there a difference between brunch and lunch? Yeah, one's like 11 to like 2, and then there's like lunch from like 2 to 4.
A later time, yeah.
Okay. I'm like, am I going crazy right now?
No, definitely a difference.
So I'm just gonna do like a little underline. And let's just group these guys. We'll just say like nav 2 for now. Do we have the other nav? Actually, let's call them tabs. I think that's a better name. All right, so now we want to show some content of the different options of what you could order. So I'm gonna grab what we already made. Actually, it's down here. I'm just gonna bring this up. This is why XD is super nice, because you can just reuse elements that you've already designed.
Yeah, so fast.
So we'll just call this, maybe like in brunch, there's like subsets of things. So this could be like to share. Like maybe each section has its own like subsection of different types of food. So like this is your to share category. And then maybe down here, it's like bigger plates or something like that. So we'll start with that. And I think this is where I want to introduce like a different type of card treatment underneath. So let me grab those real quick from my wireframes.
I love how the conversation in the chat is around like brunch, like all the different types of meals, like breakfast, brunch, lunch, supper, dinner, dessert. Brunch is breakfast and lunch together.
Andrew.
I also was a big Brinner person.
Brinner.
Breakfast for dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, did a lot of that.
Get down with
Meal
that.
of champions, as I like to refer to it. Yeah.
Do you do like eggs or do you like
Oh no,
pancakes?
it's like it's like a lot of like it's
Yeah,
you know like
just a plethora
you have
of different
cinnamon
things.
rolls, you have eggs, you have French toast, you
I like
have
where your head's
pancakes,
at.
like everything. Yeah. If you're gonna do Brinner, like you do Brinner.
I like
It's
saying
sort
the
of
word
my
Brinner,
belief.
too,
Yeah,
for some reason.
I've been saying it a lot now.
We should make that like catch, like spread it like wildfire.
Yeah. I feel like there are places that do Brinner. It's special.
I mean, talk
occasion,
about
I
this
guess.
fourth meal.
I mean, we were talking about White Claw earlier and like trying to
White Claw.
expand on an area. I feel like Brinner's our new area that we should go into.
Totally. All right.
Andrew, I had Brinner last night. Wow, nice.
I keep thinking Brinner's like a person.
Oh.
Justin says, what about second breakfast? Yeah, I mean, I could definitely eat it twice. Chicken and waffles. Still haven't had that.
Breakfast burritos are good for any meal. So many food things. Love talking about food.
What did Jim say about the cards and menu? Jim, can you repeat your question about for the cards and menu? Because it kind of went up.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, anyways, I'm going to make a different card treatment based on something like this. Thanks, Simon. So anyways, while we see what Jim said, I'm going to start making this card.
Sounds good.
And I'll take the same, this guy, and just paste it in, because we want it to be consistent. It'll be a different like card style, but it won't be, it won't deviate too much from like our sizing.
Cool. So Jim said, can you describe the functionality of the swipe left?
Oh, okay, yeah. So in my mind, when you get to this section, you can scroll left and right. You can drag the cards. Maybe you could like flick it even, and it kind of just keeps going, or you can kind of drag back. It's basically just a left and right, pretty simple. And then when you click on one of the cards, it would maybe like expand into like a product description page. Maybe there's more information about the shrimp plate. Maybe there's like nutritional information or specifics on like what the chef used to make it, things like that. But yeah, just a simple kind of interaction, I think, is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and I think you're asking, you're showing what it will be, but how will it happen? I think also, so I think it's nice, like in a flat design like this, like Cody's showing a little bit of it peeking off the edge, so you know as like a user that there's more, that like you should do that interaction.
Right.
It kind of hints that there's more and you would want to kind of swipe and drag that. And then I think when we get into like prototyping mode, when it comes to actually like being able to see that come to life, there's a drag function that you can actually use. So when Cody previews on his phone tomorrow, you can actually feel it out and like move those elements. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll get to do like the magic stuff of XD tomorrow and like actually make that
magic,
functional.
You say. Oh.
You're the one talking about magic earlier. So. But that's a good point. Like the peak definitely helps to kind of like indicate that there's something more off screen. So we're kind of just peeking it in there. And I'm sure like there's tons of apps you've seen that do this sort of thing. So it's kind of like a learned like pattern or behavior that we're not introducing for the first time, you know? So I definitely, I think you guys should all like explore different apps and how they handle things like this because you can learn a lot from just like some of the bigger companies and what they're kind of utilizing in their experiences.
Yeah, a good clarifying question, Jim. So thank you for sending that through.
So I'm going to copy the image here. Maybe there's like an image on the left of this card. So it's like kind of flush to the, like smaller kind of flush to the left card right here, or image.
Nice. Yeah, and Alexandra, does XD support horizontal swipe? Yes, that is, like Jim was saying, so in prototype mode, when we start to go through, there is functionality to actually see that drag, so you can actually do the horizontal swipe and see how it feels. And I will say, when it comes to like features in Adobe XD, on my screen I have up adobeXD.uservoice.com, and basically if you head over to that site, you can like request different features and bugs on Adobe XD. And so like here there's feature requests, and so if there's anything that like isn't in XD right now, or you just have some bugs that are happening or something like that, you can see these are some of the popular ones like tap hover effect, some more like animate things. You can actually vote, and then the team, like the Adobe XD team here, like all look at this, and this is how we also go through and prioritize like what to work on. So you can also see like the team will mark these features as like, hey, it's like we've started working on this, or it's under review, like it's something we're keeping in mind. So you can also like kind of get a sense of what the team is working on, which is really nice, and then make sure that like you voice what you want to have in the application. So just a tip on that, Adobe XD user voice.
That's super awesome. I feel like the XD team specifically has done a really good job at like hearing the feedback and like, you know, adding new features that are like based off of like the community, you know what I mean? So
yeah, we really want to hear from you. Like if things aren't working or there's things that you really want, like that's what we want to build into the tool.
I think I might need to add like a price here too. It could go either way because some of the premium places don't show the price, but
yeah,
we'll see what it looks like with a little price here.
That's true if you're like on the upscale, like nicer side. Some places don't show. Some places do though.
I always try to put the loss numbers in my design, but I don't know if it's gonna work for this. All right. So let's just do $24. I'm gonna have to play around with this sizing actually a little bit. Whoa.
Yeah, I see in the chat there's a lot of people hoping for dark mode. Make sure that you vote for it. You guys are not the only ones who want that feature, so head on over and just vote for that. And a reminder, as Val said on the chat, it's close to the portion where we're going to be giving feedback on the XD Creative Challenge, so make sure that you're wrapping those up so that we can give you some feedback on your designs.
Yes, super excited about that. Okay, so I just grouped this all. I put the $24 there, and we can repeat grid this as well. Oh, I'm gonna make this a component as well. I'm doing this so like later, if we want to make changes to one of the cards, it'll update on all the cards. Whoa, repeat grid. And I think maybe 3 stacked is good for this, and then we can go back to this section. So we can do.
Yeah, I feel like using components and things like that, it's a really good habit to get into. It just like saves time down the line, and also not just for your own personal process, but when you share files with other people and people have to come in and are working off of things, it's also really nice to just have an organized file like that. Makes things a lot simpler.
Yeah, it's when I walk in, like when I open somebody else's file and it's organized properly, I'm just like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like, it saves so much time.
Like, you know, the people that like you work with that just like their files, you open it and you're just like, your heart just drops.
Yeah. You're like, sweet, I get to get off early. Or, you know. I'll just like rename some of these. We'll say lobster plate. I gotta put oysters on this one because it's to share.
It has to happen, yeah.
We'll do some Baja oysters. Maybe like a salmon thing. Salmon bowl.
Oh,
Bowls are pretty popular.
I'll get a salmon bowl. Yeah,
Okay.
that's definitely.
See, we got something for everybody, you know?
Yeah. Some variety.
So we have our to share entrees. Maybe this could be like local favorites. So some of the, what do you say, San Franciscans? San Franciscans? No. Whatever. Local people from
I'm
San
like,
Francisco.
I heard that. I mean,
Local favorites.
San Franciscans.
Like we're San Diegans in San Diego.
Really?
So, yeah. You ever heard that?
No, I don't think I have.
Well, anyways, we'll put local favorites for whatever San Francisco people are called.
Apparently, I'm seeing it. Yes, San Franciscans. It just sounds funny.
It sounds a little weird.
Yeah, but so does San Diegans.
San Diegans flows off the tongue though. San Diegans.
San Diegans.
I'm a San Diegan.
No, that sounds funny.
All right, so I've got, so you got your build order, to share, entrees, local favorites.
Nice.
I think that's, oh, you know what we could do for this page too is like, maybe there's like a little like promotion here. Like not like a advertisement per se, but like if the restaurant wants to promote like a certain dish, maybe they're like, maybe it's part of their happy hour menu or something like that. We can add a little section for that. So
nice. Or like, they have like a fresh catch of the day
There
or
you go.
something going on.
maybe that's what we'll
Some
call it, fresh
special.
catch.
We also had a question for like, are there any absolute design do's and don'ts for you?
Oh.
As we kind of were starting to talk about like, bad organized files and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you always want to like have assets that are sized pretty big. So when you go out to export, like you can always size down, or like you don't want to start with a bad asset because it'll be really difficult to make it look good later on. So I think just being mindful of where you're getting your assets from is always super important. Even like file size, like when you're saving out, like for some of the apps that we worked on, that was something I forgot to consider like early on. So the files were kind of big and like hefty, so I had to go back and like save out a lot of different files. So I think just like kind of having that in the back of your head when you're designing, like reducing file size is big. As far as like design though, like I'm trying to think. I think just a lot of people will say like don't use lorem ipsum, like in your designs, because it's like it's not really truly. It's just not a good way to design, because you want to actually, if you're going to present wireframes, you want to show the client that you put thought into the type of content that will actually live there. So if you put like 3 lines of text, that it would never actually be 3 lines of text, and it's kind of just like sloppy, I think. So just getting in the habit of trying to be true to what the actual content, and being mindful of your client can go a long way.
Yeah, I have started to see people move further from lorem ipsum and starting to just use rectangles in place if they aren't actually going to put any text right away.
Totally.
Just to like mimic the fact that, hey, there would be some text here, but like they're not actually putting any type.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure more will come up as I'm thinking, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not the design gatekeeper, so I'm sure.
It's a tough question on the spot. Actually.
I'm sure I'm doing something in this whole process that another designer's like, oh my God, like why is he doing that? So like everybody has their own kind of like method to their madness. Yeah, so catch of the day. You know what? I think what we'll do is I'm gonna copy this. I think we'll title this box catch of the day, and then it'll say, in the bigger text, we'll say what it is. Catch of side, no, catch of the day. So we'll say wild caught Alaskan salmon.
Oh, yes. Great.
Salmon.
Salmon.
That way it's sort of like its own category, like people can always expect that this card will pop up. So we kind of keep it there. And then we'll actually add one of these little quick add buttons as well. I might make this like a 28. Reminds me of Sketch a little. Star Wars Ipsum. Is that a thing?
Dude, there's hipster Ipsum.
Hipster Ipsum.
Right?
I think I've seen that.
Have you used that one? Yeah.
That's a great one.
If I use one, that's the one I'm going for. It has a lot of like mustache, bicycle, like whatever.
It's like matcha latte.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Totally. Cool. Well, I think we are at the countdown portion for the design feedback. So right now, if you haven't gotten your design in, don't stress. We are also going to be back again tomorrow, same time, so we can provide some feedback if you haven't wrapped them up for tomorrow. But for those of you who did get designs in, I know it's a little bit fast, so we're going to be looking at some of the submissions for Daily Creative Challenge. So this is the XD Creative Challenge that has been happening every day. New challenges are unlocked that you can go in and kind of work on in Adobe XD on a little challenge and get feedback on the streams. So we're going to be checking a few out. I don't think we have any for the grocery store, but I just pulled up a couple that were submitted through Discord. So let's take a look. Oh, I have a video one up first. I think we do have one of the more recent ones, which is this one. So let's play this.
This is looking cool.
I'll make it
Eco
full
Ride.
so it's focused. Okay.
Ooh, a nice little drawer that pops out.
I do like the drawer, yeah. Hey, San Diego.
Yeah. Okay, this is nice. Oh, you get to choose your driver. I like the big button at the bottom. It's just like really visible. Flying solo, I love that.
Yeah, plus I think like it's very clear, like the color of it like is really bold, so you know exactly where to tap on that.
Yeah, it's like there's soft colors in certain areas, but then there's like really like...
Ooh, look at this animation
that's
happening
sweet.
here. Nice.
Yeah, see, your eye goes straight to like that path of where the car is because of the color palette here.
Yeah. This
is great.
Cool, I think that's it. Yeah, it was pretty fast, so I was trying to keep along here, but I feel like there's quite a bit that you were able to design also, like from starting with this like just get started screen and thinking through like signing in and everything like that, all the way into like the first time kind of bringing things up. It is interesting, like in the drawer, this concept of kind of having your schedule there in this application.
Yeah, I can see that being pretty handy.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this design?
I think if you go back to the home screen.
Yeah. Ooh.
So I like how you have some like fonts that are like a little bit like lighter. I think even on this home screen you can make that a little bit lighter. It looks nice how it is right now, but there's a lot going on with those like thicker font treatment. So maybe just adding a little bit more hierarchy, because you have your logo and then the get started. Those are like the big things. You might be able to like come down a font weight on that, but overall I love the simplicity of this page. And let's get in there. Let's see, get started.
Yeah.
This is nice.
And then after that, we sort of get into the screen here where you can select if you're a passenger or driver, which I think also like nice that you're kind of considering which one this person might be, even like first time experience.
I love the layout too. Like everything's pretty visible right upon landing here. You might want to consider adding a little bit of contrast between the map and that card, or maybe like a drop shadow.
Yeah, like here.
But yeah, this is looking cool.
Yeah, and I would be curious. I mean, there's a little bit of legibility, I feel like, with this white and the green color that might be a little hard to read, like the contrast on that. So I might think about, like, it's a pretty thin font, so either like bumping that up a little or just choosing a different tone here just so that it makes sure that like all of this type is super legible.
Totally. But I love the use of icons in there. Like
Yeah.
when you pull up, there's like that little like sun, like it's like
Oh, yeah.
daytime, nighttime, like that's really cool.
Yeah, there's some awesome details in this. I'm gonna get to the...
We're going to the Civic Theater.
Yeah, I also like some of the language is kind of fun, like flying solo.
Yeah.
Like if it's just you, like I feel like copy is also like a nice thing to play with sometimes that can make your app either like give it a certain tone, like based off the language that you use.
Absolutely.
So I like that. Cool. Yeah, and it was interesting to see that you could kind of pick your own driver.
Yeah, I like that.
I like the little notes here. I didn't notice this when we were going through because it was going really fast, but favorite drink, ice cream.
Hopefully she's not
Interesting.
drinking a margarita. While she's
Yeah,
driving,
or eating the ice cream while driving.
Ooh,
or
mint
a
chocolate chip. That's a good.
combination.
It's like my sister's favorite flavor.
Is it? Yeah. I feel like maybe the app was inspired. There's a little bit of that mint chocolate
mint
chip
chocolate.
vibe happening here.
Maybe that's the theme. Maybe you could change your theme and like that's mint chocolate chip.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Ooh, a good suggestion.
Yeah, it's sick and sweet. I love the use of animation.
Yeah, with all of it, the car coming down and everything too.
Cool.
Sweet. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for the submission. We're going to take a look at another one here. This was a different challenge than the car like pickup drop-off application. But we'll see. They posted it on Behance, so we'll take a look. So they have the prompt here. So this is for creating a mobile marketplace where people can resell or donate used clothes.
Like upcycling, sort of.
There you go. Yeah.
Nice. So is that like almost like a filter you can add? That's cool. It's almost like a sticker, like a Instagram or Snapchat sticker that you could add in once you take a photo. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So you're like swiping through different filters.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, and this is kind of talking towards that one prototyping mode we talked about of having that like drag feature.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good. I never thought to use a drag feature in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's cool about these challenges is people like get creative with the different functionalities in XD.
Yeah, and I do like. I think that you have this pagination a little bit to hint to the fact that maybe you can swipe through and there'll be some more options and things at the bottom. So people kind of know and hinting towards that. Also, we can take a look at this part of the app too.
That's fun. I like the colors. I'm a big fan of like teal.
Yeah. It's my
add an
favorite
item.
color.
Oh, is that your favorite color?
This like tealy color.
Oh yeah,
Not
it's like a
teal.
turquoisey teal.
Yeah, turquoisey teal.
I like the look of this because there's a lot of variety going on in like each page. You've got like a big color block one page, and then you have some imagery, and then you have these cards. So I think they're all working really well together. Like that full bleed image to this experience to then the card. I think there's a nice visual variety happening. I like the typography treatment. It feels very like human, I guess you could say. So was it add an item, add a photo. So that's her jeans. She has a little message and she donates it. Okay,
Yeah.
That's fun.
I also think the nice thing that you did is like with the color palette, having like your kind of main CTA always be like that one kind of yellow color. It's like super clear kind of what action I should sort of be taking and like the clear next step.
Yeah, super easy to follow with that.
Yeah, follow
She's
along.
she or he is being very consistent with, the use of color.
I do really like the transitions too. I feel like it's super smooth of kind of like when you have the add photo and it kind of bumps up and then it bumps up again and kind of like just like those subtle little animations are fun.
Yeah, those are like the little things you don't really think about, but like when it happens, it just works really well. And then when you open up an app that doesn't have that sort of thought put into it, you feel like it's broken, but you don't know why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like those little delightful kind of animations really help to kind of make it more of like something you want to interact with.
Yeah,
So
this is
good work.
great. Yeah, thank you. Plus, and sometimes we like to comment on if you have like a Behance one. I think it was useful to have like the prompt in here a little bit, so we kind of also knew a little bit more about the design and what you were doing. So I think that was helpful to like tag along with each of these as to like what we're looking at. I think sometimes it's also nice to have, like, you have, like, the full animation, which is super cool to have in the phone. Sometimes having just, like, we're kind of waiting for each screen to kind of look at the designs. Sometimes it's nice to, like, pull out one or two main screens that you kind of want to show off also. But, yeah, it looks really good. So thank you for the submission.
Your computer's starting to lift off now.
It is going. Yeah, it's getting loud. Okay, let's look at, we have a couple more here. Let's check this one out. So we have, another marketplace one. So similar to the last one. We have donate or resell.
Okay.
You can add a photo.
So it kind of reminds me of like those, like Facebook Marketplace or like some of those other apps where you can basically do this, like, or, a glorified like Craigslist, I guess,
Yeah.
upload your photo, put it for sale. This is cool.
Yeah, so you have your item name, what's your story, and then you can press next. So let's check out the video here. I'll zoom this out.
They got some cool animations going on too.
Yeah. I'll play that one more time.
That's interesting that the button where you click add photo just turns into the photo. Like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I did like that moment.
You're always kind of in the same area.
Yeah, it turns into this photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that as well.
And then everything bumps up again. That's kind of nice. I might make a little bit more contrast on your titles there for like donate or sell, because like, or resell. It just gets a little bit lost, so maybe there's something you could do by either putting it underneath or like adding a layer of, like an overlay of like a black layer, turning the opacity down, throwing that donate on top of that so it kind of stands out a little bit more. But I like those images a lot. I think if you have a little bit more contrast, we can see what those things say a little bit better.
Yeah,
like here it's no issue. I can read item name and what's the story very well.
Totally.
Those are some sweet kicks.
Yeah. I want all of it. Yeah,
Nice.
I think this looks really great. I think my only suggestion or like thought on this also is like thinking about some of the white space. Like there is a lot of white space in here, and kind of thinking about how to deal with that over time. I don't know if you continue to hit like donate and resell if like more things keep populating. And the green it's pretty bright. Like,
It's pretty bright.
Pretty drastic.
You might want to save that green for, or something similar to that green for your main call to action. So like if you go back to the last page there,
Yeah.
you've got that next button.
Oh,
Like maybe you can introduce a color like that for that next button, and that's kind of your branded color that you reuse. It is a cool color. It's a pretty electrifying, I must say.
Yeah. Well, it would be really cool, I think, yeah, to your point, like call to action, or like even like on just like your top header nav up here, like maybe using it there. I feel like the one hard thing about color when you have photography is that it's just like hard to, like you never know what people are going to upload, and like the contrast between like photos and like a color background is really hard, which is why I feel like typically like people usually let like photographs speak for themselves if that's going to be like the main thing in your app. So you'll usually find like, off blacks or like a white background just to like let images kind of do
Take
their
center
thing.
stage kind of. Yeah.
Because it's so hard to like match if you're not
If you're not the
uploading them
one, if
yourself,
you're not the brand and has
curating
like
it.
curating, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, really good work though.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay. So let's take a look maybe at one more.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this one we are going to click through ourselves.
Ooh, another bright color palette.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm going to close these here. All right. So add item. So we have the add a photo. We have this rain jacket here.
It's free.
So click on the item name. Yeah, I want it. What's the story?
This is one of my favorite rain jackets.
Ship my
Ship it.
item.
Okay, cool.
I think it's super clear. Like the flow makes a lot of sense coming in here.
I like the rounded corners. It's very approachable.
Yeah, on the screen here.
I would say kind of the same thing about the free. Like it's a little bit hard to see, and I might consider making that stroke a little bit thicker, or even making the color of the free a little bit like darker, maybe like a darker green perhaps. And right now it seems like the image itself like it looks really nice with the background, like you have yellow on yellow. But consider like what that might look like if you have something that's not in the same color palette, because you never know, like kind of what we touched on. You never know who's going to upload what. But yeah, this is fun. It feels very fresh and inviting, and something that I want to interact with.
Yeah, and I do think that it's nice that you thought all the way through to kind of like thank you for the details, right? And like kind of like those little moments of like thanking people or like enjoy. And also having like hooked up like the back button and things like that. So you have, again, like not the directionality of your experience, like not just going forward, but thinking about how you might go back to like a moment before or something like that, I think is really nice.
Yeah, you never want to like trap somebody in a flow. It's like you can get a lot of anxiety. Like, so it's like, it's good that you're considering, the page navigation. I think that's really nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all for your submissions for the XD Creative Challenge. I do want to remind you guys that we have, here, I'll put this bump this back up. Another challenge that will be unlocking again tomorrow. And so when Cody is back tomorrow, same time, we will be reviewing the daily challenges. So it's just a chance to get some feedback from people on the chat, from us, and just like keep working in XD. Cool. So with that, we can head back into Cody's work.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really cool. It's cool to see the different interactions that people were working on there. So yeah, where do we leave off? Okay, so we're still working on the build order page. Let's take a look at this really quick. Let's click the play button. And so we've got our build order, we've got our different tabs, we've got our icons up here, and our first category, which is to share. So we've got some Baja oysters down here. We've got some entrees, shrimp plate, lobster plate, we've got the prices. I might have to consider, if we're gonna have the price here, I might have to consider adding it here as well. Or if we decide we don't wanna have the price. I haven't quite decided yet, but maybe that's something that would come up in testing. Like people would be like, I need to know how much I'm gonna pay if I'm gonna add it to my cart. So we've got a different format for the cards here. I think it's just a nice visual break from these guys. And then we've got another section called local favorites. Looks like my logo isn't on the top layer, so I'll have to fix that later. But and then adding a different kind of like, more of like a branded, wild caught Alaskan salmon is our catch of the day. Perhaps there's a promotion or a featured item that the restaurant wants to kind of shed some light on. This is an opportunity to do that. Maybe we even throw it above this section, so it's not just card. There's a little bit more of a visual break there. But we can play around with that tomorrow during design. And then you have your footer at the bottom. So I think this is probably where people will spend the most time on the app is adding their items, and kind of wanted the buttons just to be bigger so you could easily add. And we have a lot of white space behind. I know it's kind of hard to tell now because it's wireframes, but back to what we were talking about, just giving the pictures and the images a little bit of room to breathe, since they're going to be kind of center stage in this experience here. And then we could probably, how much time do we have? About 15 minutes? We could probably start the next screen of maybe when you add these to your cart, what that might look like. Okay, we got about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So we'll just start that page. So maybe we'll just talk about what that could look like. So here's our wires. So I imagine you add one of these guys with the quick add. Maybe your cart updates and there's like a number one, so to indicate that you have one item in your basket. Perhaps if you clicked on this basket, you would get taken to this page, and all of your selected products would populate here. Again, with like a subtotal, tax, and what your total purchase would come out to. So I think we can start laying that page out really quickly.
Yeah, I feel like we have a lot of the base elements.
Yeah. So I'm just going to duplicate what I have already. I just held Option and just dragged this artboard over. And I think on this page we're not going to have like the logo because it'll be probably too much. So I'm just going to delete all this.
I think it's also Command D is also a shortcut for artboards.
Command D is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
I'll have to remember
I say
that,
but I'm like, yeah.
It's weird when you like remember a command, but you have to like physically
I just
do it.
had to go into XD and do it. I never know. People are like, "What's the shortcut for this?" I'm like, It's so intuitive. Like you just kind of have to be doing
muscle
it.
memory.
Once. Yeah.
So I think for this page, we're gonna drop the logo and we're gonna keep it like a title. So you could always just hit back to get out of your cart. I'm gonna grab this rectangle tool and just draw this in. Make it a little bit lighter. And then I'll just borrow from this copy, paste, and we'll just call it your basket. Not Basky like earlier.
I mean, you do like to abbreviate things like BTN for button. You never know. I
You
might
never
have
know.
I might have gone with it and thought that you actually call it Basky.
That could be like another app like Basky,
I feel like I'm learning so much about you.
Yeah.
Take some oysters, go for a run,
Yeah.
then get your Basky
gosh.
for lunch.
That's how people are gonna remember me.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna make a little back button really quick. Maybe a 2-point stroke for now. And then Option, bring it down. and we'll flip this. So I know I made that kind of quick, but it's just lines, 2 lines that I put together. And then I'll group these back. And this is just so the customer can get back to the browsing page or the build your order page pretty quickly. And we also want to just maybe have like a summary of how many items are in here. So maybe like some icon that shows like a total number of items. So I'll copy my number or my price. Let's just say, how many do we have here? 3? Yeah. We'll put a 3 right here. Center align it. I'm going to select the box as well and just make sure it's perfectly aligned. So yeah, so I know I have 3 items in my basket at this point. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. I think for here I put like an actual basket icon, but since we have the basket icon on every other page, I think it's nice to just keep the number by itself because you know you're in the basket at this point.
Yeah.
So something like that would probably work pretty well. And then I'll just bring these up.
Nice. I mean, this might be a good place maybe to like kind of summarize where you started earlier today to like where you are now, and then kind of what you might be focusing on like tomorrow on the stream.
Yeah, so we started with like a rough idea of building like a seafood ordering app. So if you're at a restaurant and you want to add some items to your list of things you want to get, instead of waiting in line like we typically do, you can actually just go in and quick add different items. So you've got like your lobster plate, your shrimp plate, and maybe some oysters. And you're also kind of given an indication of how long it takes for that order to be placed and kind of put on your table. So we started with just more of like a general like look and feel sort of exploration here, where I selected some colors that we might use tomorrow through our design exploration, but really just building out the experience in a wireframe format so that we know the content that's going to be on the page and the functionality, the main functionality that the customer will experience as they're going through each page. So you've got your cards here, you got some learn more actions here, and then your build your order. So really we're just trying to map out everything that we're going to design tomorrow so that we're kind of prepped and we have a good overall sort of lay of the land of our app. But even before that, we started with just some rough sketches that I had done prior to this stream, just to kind of show, sort of like the blueprint or kind of like the rough beginnings of what an app looks like. So highly recommend that this is part of your process. It's really helpful so that when you actually are designing like we did today, or wireframing, you have something to reference. So I think tomorrow we'll go in and actually add some color and some imagery to this and make it feel, bring it to life, and hopefully add some interaction and some, auto animate features and things like that, and really get a sense of what it looks like on an actual phone. We'll actually try to like size this to tablet as well, because we're going to use the responsive resize feature for that. So that'll be super fun to kind of see how that works. And yeah, I think it's gonna be rad.
Yeah, I mean, you got really far today. I feel like it's nice to see your process from like the hand-done sketches and sort of where you begin to like actually like where you start in a file and your process of working through the file and like your organization style and everything like that. So yeah, so I think tomorrow we'll get into we've been in like the design mode of Adobe XD, but tomorrow we'll get a little bit into prototyping mode as well after we get into like the visual designs. I know there like people in the chat were kind of getting excited about like how would you actually animate this, or like what does this actually look like with like the horizontal swipe. So that'll be really cool. And I know people in the chat like Rachel like looks really great already. I agree. I think it's coming along really nicely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wireframes.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's definitely when you're designing, typically I have like headphones on and I'm kind of like in my zone. So it's always like different when you have to explain yourself, but I enjoy it because it kind of reminds me of what I need to do like when in my process. Like this is like the ideal process. You go in, you wireframe, or you sketch your wireframes and you wireframe, and then you kind of go back and align things. So it's a nice like kind of helpful reminder for me even totally. Being a designer to kind of go in and do something like this. So yeah, thanks for being in this chat, guys.
Yeah, so tomorrow the schedule is very similar to what it was today, and Cody will be back, so make sure that you tune in to see the evolution of this design. We appreciate you guys all tuning into the chat, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, stand by.
Pretty far.